Taking on multiple properties is normally left to the big-time developers, but not here. Tonight's two sets of developers are jumping in by buying a pair of properties each. The market's jittery, the stakes are sky high, so the question is, how do you win when it's a question of double jeopardy? Why don't you just do them both at the same time? Oh! Any mistakes you make on this side of the development, you're going to make the same on the other side.
This is going to put us another £4,000 over.
We need to give some serious consideration to calling in some trades.
I think that's just horrible.
What a transformation. Isn't that amazing? Meet sisters Helen Simpkins and Paula Harris. In the village of Warnborough outside Swindon, they're taking on a highly complex first development. This pair of tiny cottages have been knocked through into one, and they want to reinstate them as two extended houses in just 4 months.
We're not new to property. We have got between us about 24 properties which are buy-to-lets. Property developing just seemed, on this sort of scale, the next step.
Buy-to-lets are one thing, developing is quite another. And while I think this could be a lucrative double deal, hauling these pokey properties into the 21st century will take more than a little skill. Even so, the sisters are overwhelmingly confident.
I don't think we can fail on this development. Whatever we did with them, I think we'd make a profit.
120 miles away in Christchurch, Hampshire, newly married Chris and Amanda Hodges have also just bought 2 properties. This pair of worn-out 1930s semis.
We can get the first property renovated, on the market and sold, and then with the profits we make from that, we'll be able to do up this house.
By finishing one property to finance the other, they're hoping to carve out new careers in developing and a new future together. So you own them both, but where are you living at the moment?
Well, we're going to renovate this one on the left, and we're living in the one on the right. So we've got work and home all together.
So you're going to do this full time?
Yes.
Is that right?
Apart from the shell going up that we've got a bricklayering to do, we've got no more labour after that, have we?
No, we're doing it all ourselves.
Right. And have you got any experience of doing this?
Well, I'm a carpenter.
Right.
Amanda's a hypnotherapist.
Right.
So she's actually told me that she's going to hypnotise me into doing trades that I don't do.
That I wouldn't mind seeing. Though a more practical solution would be for Chris and Amanda to take on less of the work themselves and hire in some trades. In fact, they could take a much more commercial approach to the whole project. I mean, you're going to develop the other one as well, aren't you? Why don't you just do them both at the same time? If you try and sell the one on the left, having not done the one on the right, it won't be worth as much as if they're both done, because there is a knock-on effect down the street.
But then not only have we then got twice as much to do, we'd have to think about, do we call somebody else in to do some of the jobs? So then it wouldn't be cheaper to do it at the same time. It would start sort of falling into being more expensive to do it at the same time.
But then every month you've got more mortgage to pay, and every month you've got to support yourselves as well. And every month, this kind of heat in the market at the moment, and who knows where it's going. Chris and Amanda bought both properties for £462,000. Are looking to spend just £118,000 by doing the work themselves over 7 months. And hope to sell both properties for £670,000, making a profit of £90,000. But especially in today's market, by doing one semi after another, they could seriously jeopardise the sale price. The exterior of both have got to be finished before you sell one.
Yes. Yeah.
Because that's what's really going to push the value up.
Yeah.
I think that you really need to do the other one at the same time. I think that doing the pair of them in conjunction really makes sense for your position. You've got them both, get them both done, get them both sold while the market's as hot as it is at the moment.
It's something I'd like to do, it's just budget at the end of the day.
Doing them both should help their budget. There's an economy of scale on labour and materials that could really reduce their costs. But before even considering the finances, they need to come up with a layout so good it's worth repeating twice over. This typical 1930s house has 3 bedrooms and a family bathroom upstairs. And downstairs 2 reception rooms and a small kitchen. Chris and Amanda plan to create an impressive 4-bedroom house by building a 2-storey extension. But they're not making the best use of the extra space. On the ground floor, as well as a garage, they're squeezing in a workshop, utility room, and a kitchen diner that is small for today's market.
I think it'd be definitely worth making this kitchen bigger. I mean, bearing in mind you're going to end up with 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. This is a good family home.
And compromising the kitchen isn't really what we want to do.
I can see why carpenter Chris would like a workshop, but for most families a better solution would be to use this area for the utility room, which would create space for a much larger and more attractive kitchen breakfast room, ideal for the family market.
It's not worth compromising the kitchen because a big kitchen breakfast room will sell the house very quickly.
It's nice to have a separate utility, so if we can get it at the back of the garage, that'd be fantastic.
It's a good layout that could translate into a great return across the 2 properties, as long as Chris and Amanda think they have what it takes to do both at once.
I think actually we will take Sarah's advice and go for the second development. Sink or swim. As neighbours of our own house, we certainly won't object to it.
If Chris and Amanda put proper finance in place and bring in the trades where necessary, this project could make them a far better return than they imagined. In Wanborough, Paula and Helen need no persuading to develop 2 properties at the same time. They've never done a development before, but have built up their confidence through an impressive portfolio of 24 buy-to-lets.
So, did you have a lot of money? Do you just go around saying, oh, I'll have one of those? Oh, yeah, that's a nice house.
Sounds like
oh,
that.
a couple of
Oh
those
my
houses.
goodness, no!
They're all mortgaged.
Mortgaged to the max, really,
Yeah.
and that's the only way, really, that we do them.
So you've mortgaged your house to pay for this? Or...
No, I had some, of my inheritance left, and the rest of it, we got a joint loan for the land, and then we've got an overdraft facility for the development costs.
And why did you decide to buy this particular house?
We always walked past them, hadn't we? And they're quite run down from the outside, well, and in, but we'd always thought what a great project that would be if they ever came up.
I think they could have paid over the odds for the property at £267,000. There's a small budget of £84,500 to create 2 houses in just 4 months. They're hoping to sell each one for £235,000, making a total profit of £118,500. But the margins sound terribly tight, and there's a reason why.
And when it came to the auction, it went to 250, and we said,
That
right,
was
that's
our
it.
maximum. We said we won't go higher than 250
And then
because
it
of the
went
stamp
to,
duty.
yeah, and then it went to 266, didn't it? And I looked at you as if to say, can I please? And
One
you said,
more.
go on then, one more.
So you've done your figures, it's stacked up at 250, and on the day you just thought, I'll pay another 17,000.
Well, no.
Ideally, I think we'd have liked to have stayed below the 250.
Yeah.
So do you think it would be fair to say that it was a tad impulsive, the purchase of
Probably,
this?
yeah.
The market's uncertain. What's more, the smallest mistake could easily push the budget up and pull the sale price down. To succeed, this development is going to have to be spot on. In Warnborough, sisters Paula Harris and Helen Simpkins are hoping to make nearly £120,000 by converting these neighbouring knocked-through properties back into 2 matching homes. But with limited space to play with, getting the layout right is far from obvious.
Any mistakes you make on this side of the development, you're going to make the same on the other side, and anything you do right on this side will be right the other side as well.
Definitely, yes.
The cottages were joined into one by the previous owners. Upstairs, there are 3 double bedrooms and 1 bathroom. while downstairs has just one kitchen and 3 reception rooms. Helen and Paula's idea is to create 2 identical 3-bedroom cottages. Downstairs, each house will have just one open-plan living area, leading to a compact kitchen. Upstairs, the plan is to extend over the kitchen and squeeze in a small 3rd bedroom. But the age-old problem is that extra rooms need extra corridors, and this, together with the new bathroom, means cutting heavily into the 2nd bedroom. It all feels a bit pokey. And they're repeating this layout next door.
I think your plans downstairs are pretty good. Upstairs, I wonder whether it's overkill, really. I mean, they are tiny, tiny houses, and what you gain for extending over the kitchen and adding a 3rd bedroom, you lose by making the 2nd bedroom so much smaller. Is any family going to actually want a house with 3 bedrooms, but 2 of them so small you can only just shoehorn a
Well, I
single
think
bedroom?
really we're looking at a young family or a couple that plan to then have a family. You know, this could be a long-term house rather than a starter home if we did make it a 3-bed, so it opens up our market to a few more.
The amount it will cost you to build a 2nd storey, I would question whether you would... I think you'll end up with a house that's worth the same amount of money.
With this property, a simple job could cost less and make more. I would scrap the expensive 3rd bedroom and simply have 2 proper-sized doubles. And concentrate on having more of a flexible space downstairs by introducing double doors into the living area.
Just whip through these really nice and quickly, really simple, refurb them.
Okay.
You're not sure, are
We're
you?
probably going to do it though.
Don't you?
Because a 3-bedroom house is going to be more than a 2-bedroomed house. And then that obviously will open up our market to more people, I would have thought.
Helen and Paula are determined to do it the hard way. Their builders get straight to work ripping out the back of the house in readiness for 2 new extensions. But as they go up, they're also eating up money. Money, it turns out, that is needed elsewhere. The builder Lionel bears the bad news.
The roof leaks like a sieve. It leaks like a sieve. Every time it rains, it runs down the walls. I think they need a new roof.
The roof looks shot to me as well. The girls paid for a survey, so it's a little odd why this work wasn't spotted earlier.
I don't think our survey was actually aimed at looking at the roof. I think it was, is it structurally sound? And that sort of thing. But I haven't read it.
Which might explain why it isn't in their budget. It's always safer to get a full structural survey, which started around £800. It's money well spent, as long as you read it, of course.
This is going to put us another £4,000 over.
Well,
4.5.
I can only recommend you have it done. I don't have to say that you've got to have it done. That is down. If you tell me not to do it, then any leaks or any damp that comes in on the walls, I'm not held responsible.
Okay.
And it's as simple as that.
With double developments, it's well worth doing double the research. In Christchurch, it's the first week of the build. Chris and Amanda have made the big decision to develop both their semis at once. They've given themselves a tiny budget of £118,000 to complete in just 20 weeks. And should now be concentrating on getting the project management 100% right.
Fantastic! I feel like Bob the Builder. Oh!
When they set about knocking through the kitchens, it's clear they're still determined to do much of the work themselves.
Oh, wow. It's looking good.
With both of them trying to labour and project manage, it's no surprise that 3 weeks in, work slows to a near standstill.
Our biggest problem, which we hadn't anticipated, was the amount of time this project managing's taking, because our bricklayer is too fast. He's always asking us to go and collect materials, and he needs them straight away.
On the plus side, it's still early enough to get Chris and Amanda and the development back on track.
I slightly feel that you're flying a bit by the seat of your pants with that one, and finding it struggling a bit with the project management.
We just haven't had time to do what we wanted to do.
How did you imagine it to be?
I think I thought that the builder was going to come along and build the extension, and he was sort of going to come with all his bricks and things on board.
Project management is so underestimated. The time you spend is time saved in terms of money. If you ring around and you carefully source your materials, you make sure you source the right materials at the right time, delivered at the right time so no one's waiting, that can save thousands and thousands of pounds on a site. I'm just wondering if this is the right stage to consider outsourcing various trades, the electrics, the plumbing and the plastering.
The plastering, you'll have to speak to Amanda about.
No, we won't.
Really? Definitely not.
Definitely not.
You sound very determined that this is something you're going to do.
It's just one of those big amounts of money that's going on top.
With a pair of 2-storey extensions to build, Chris and Amanda have refinanced to get their whole budget up front. But I still think it's not enough. The biggest problem is a lowly £53,000 for all labour and materials, followed closely by just £10,000 for 2 kitchens and 4 bathrooms. There's a tight £7,500 for heating and electrics, and £13,500 for windows and decoration. More realistic is £12,000 for the gardens. But with a modest £5,000 contingency and fees and mortgage payments of £17,000, the total is £118,000. Unfortunately for Chris, that doesn't cover the cost of plastering 2 enormous 2-storey extensions.
I'm a bit concerned about how much there is, and I've only sort of done patchwork before. And Amanda's convinced that with a bit of her hypnosis, she'll suddenly miraculously be able to hypnotise me into being able to plaster like a professional.
He was going to email
It sounds completely crackers, but I have to admit a tiny part of me wants to see if Amanda can really pull it off. In Warnborough, Helen and Paula are now 6 weeks into their 4-month development. The small rear extensions are starting to take shape, the stairs for the second cottage are going in, and the sisters have come to a decision about their leaky roof.
If it was me, I know that I would come back and I'd say, right, I want to knock £5,000 off because it needs a new roof. And £5,000 is a lot more than £2,000, and that's what it's going to cost us if we do them both together now. So it's probably the lesser of 2 evils, I think.
She's absolutely right, but the added cost is impacting on the decision-making inside, and in particular whether or not to divide up the living area with double doors.
We're just wondering whether it's worth spending nearly £1,500, say,
On some doors.
Personally, I wouldn't have them, because 99 times out of 100 they never get used.
The thing is, having double doors isn't going to put anyone off buying. But not having them just might. So to show the girls how many people like them, I'm taking them onto the streets.
I have to be honest, I do think you're making a mistake here, and I think it is really, really worth putting those double doors in, but I accept that you're not going to ever agree with me, so I thought we'd take it to the good folk of Swindon onto the streets and get their opinion on it.
Good idea.
If it was your house, would you rather have folding doors that fold back against the wall so you could shut them and have 2 reception rooms, or would you rather have it just as one without the folding doors?
I'd go for the folding doors because that's just having my house.
Hey.
And it makes a huge difference, yeah.
I like big open plan rooms.
Fred, shut it off.
One big one.
Would you? Hey, you're one for you.
2 rooms. 2 rooms. Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, that's one for me.
After 2 hours canvassing, half the people we've asked have wanted double doors, which I think is proof the girls should put them in. Allowing families the flexibility to have 1 large living space or 2 separate rooms. But have I convinced the girls?
Why should we spend £1,500 of our budget on putting them in when it's not really going to make much difference?
What I really want to know is, are you going to put the double doors in or not?
I don't think we are.
No.
Well, you win some, you lose some. In Christchurch, the development is already 10 weeks into its 20-week schedule. With the extensions taking shape, the huge job of plastering both these properties is looming over carpenter Chris.
Amanda has definitely told me I will be doing the plastering. She's actually basically saying there's no way we're going to pay someone else to come in when we can do it ourselves.
Chris has done some plastering before, but with interest payments of £1,800 a month, I think crawling through this job might be a false economy. But I kid you not, Amanda is convinced hypnotherapy will turn Chris into a speedy and willing plasterer.
Feel that confidence. Filling you up now, how's that feel?
It's good.
I want you to step back now and look at your plastering that you've done, and you realise how smoothly and how evenly it's gone on, and you find yourself smiling to yourself at just how well you've done.
Time now to put Chris and Amanda to the test with Sean, a full-time professional.
You do accept that it does sound a little potty, hypnotising someone into it. I want you to plaster a wall each, and we'll see who does it quickest to a good finish. So let the plaster off begin. Go.
With 2 same-sized walls and 10 minutes on the clock, it's game on.
Go, Chris! Go, Chris!
Go, Sean!
Flip.
Come on, keep going.
Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop! Stop, stop, stop! Hey, I'm very impressed. Is this better than before you were hypnotised?
I didn't drop so much on the floor, and I think that's probably because I was just feeling more confident.
But in reality, Sean's is flatter and he is quicker. Plastering all of the outside of this, upstairs and downstairs, how long would it take you to do that?
Best part of a week, I think, yeah, do all that.
So
It's quite a lot to do, quite a lot of work.
2 houses, a week each. It's going to take a bit longer, isn't it, than
Sure.
it would take a professional. So, say 3 weeks of you plastering. Are you thinking that doesn't sound very appealing?
It doesn't sound particularly appealing.
But the question is, Amanda, do you think you could be convinced on this?
It would be a huge weight off our shoulders, but can we afford to do it? That
Well-
comes back down to that.
It's made me realise just how much I hate plastering.
If Chris starts this job, there's a real danger he'll never finish it. Remember that every month that goes by, it costs them £1,800 for those mortgage repayments.
Because if I can get out of it, I think I might follow Sarah's advice. But of course, I'm up against Sarah's advice versus Amanda's. And, you know, Amanda's going to win.
In Wanborough, Helen and Paula are now halfway through their 4-month development. The budget-busting roof is going on. Inside, the new rooms upstairs are starting to take shape. And with 1 bathroom fitted, the girls are realising just how tight the space is.
At the end of the day, it's a small space, so anything's going to be a compromise. But we've got the full-size bath in, we've got a slightly smaller sink and a full-size loo.
Leaving hardly anywhere to stand. The biggest danger with multiple properties is duplicating your mistakes. Hopefully I can head this one off the pass.
OK, so this is the space you've got at the moment.
Yep.
With the door opening here, then you've got to get round the bath, round here, and then if you were bathing a child, to kind of bend over and get the... You'd have to be like this to get the child in and out of the bath. Are we agreed that we can do better than this layout with the next house?
I think so, yeah.
When you're dealing with tiny bathrooms, there will always be a compromise, but it's worth looking for space-saving furniture like shorter baths and corner sinks.
OK, so this way you can have the door opening against the wall so that you use the whole space in here. You've got a nice basin, loo and bath.
I do think it is still a compromise because
Yeah.
you have got a sink which is awkwardly sort of squashed into the corner a bit, facing sort of that direction. Plus, it is a short bath.
I think that's true, but I also feel that this is a very small house. Really, really tall, 6'5" people are not going to be living in this house because
No.
it's too small. So in this situation, I think a smaller bath is forgivable.
I think this is a good compromise, and I think we will go with this idea in the one bathroom.
Definitely.
Great. Decision made.
It's just a shame this bathroom is only going in one property. I know which house I would buy. In Christchurch, the development has now been going for 5 months and should now be done and dusted. Instead, Chris has been plastering on and off for 4 whole weeks and still hasn't finished.
I just hate plastering, basically. But it was down to cost at the end of the day. We just can't afford to get a plasterer in to do all the plastering we've got.
Chris is deep in the doldrums, and the plastering is only the half of it, because the market has started to cool and speed is now critical. But unbelievably, they're taking on more rather than less work.
I allowed a week to do the main roof. I reckon it'll take at least 6 weeks, the two of us. There's so much to do. We need to give some serious consideration to calling in some trades. But we're not defeated.
Yes, we are.
In Christchurch, the development is a month over schedule. Chris has now been plastering on and off for 6 weeks and still hasn't finished the job. But outside, a minor miracle is taking place, because at long last the cash has been stumped up to bring in some help. The roofing work shoots ahead and there's a seismic shift in mood.
We are so confident now. We had a bit of a lull, come out the other side, going back uphill, and we're supremely confident. We are developers.
Having the trades in has freed up their workload and given Chris and Amanda time to think.
We'd not only like to make this a spectacular house, but we'd like to incorporate some green things like solar panels, water recycling. It's just so much in the press. We think we'll get our money back, and it's something extra for us to market the property.
I think it's far from certain they'll make their money back. To stand a chance, they need to spend the £5,000 they've allocated very wisely. In Warnborough, it's 10 weeks into their 16-week project and the cottages are near completion. And it's finally a chance for the girls to get stuck in as they're taking on the decorating. The trouble is, these two have wildly different tastes.
See, that to me is just so old-fashioned. That is a treat to my eyes. I think that's just horrible. And I think, I really want to
In such small spaces, getting the design right is going to be crucial. But one look at Helen's house and I'm worried her ideas are going to be just too big.
Thank you. Great, this is lovely. Well, look at that wallpaper.
As I suspected, Helen loves bold colours and doesn't shy away from even bolder patterns.
I think it's very interesting to see people's homes, because very often it's very difficult for them to do something that isn't exactly in the same style as their own home. So what sort of thing are you planning on having?
So the kitchen's going to be just plain cream, traditional kitchen.
We're going to put some wallpapers up though, aren't we, and do some feature wallpaper.
I've had to sort of rein you in a bit when we were choosing some wallpaper, weren't you? Because you saw this quite bold print.
This is going to be all about the sisters walking the tightrope of their differing tastes and reaching a stylish compromise.
I feel that the most important thing is to make sure that you have a limited amount of textures and colours in the room, because of the small space.
Don't go too over the top with it, just keep it quite simple.
Keep it simple, but also you have to bear everything in mind. You can't paint the ceiling one colour, the woodwork another colour, the walls another colour, because it doesn't make it look bigger, it makes it look smaller.
We're not just a one-trick pony, I think we're going to do a fab job.
Within a few weeks, the colour scheme has been chosen and the paint is going on.
I do feel confident that everything we've done has been the right thing.
The carpet's fitted and even the garden's taking shape. All that's left is to put the cottages on the market.
I think had we left them as two-bedroom houses, as Sarah suggested originally, I don't think we would have made any profit or nowhere near as much profit as we will do. In fact, we'd have probably been lucky to break even, wouldn't we?
I think so, definitely.
In Christchurch, Chris and Amanda are 8 weeks over their 20-week schedule, but they've courageously decided to go green. So I'm taking them to a new building in Hampshire with a raft of green initiatives to help them decide how best to invest their £5,000.
Now, I know you guys want to go green, but why now?
We feel at this stage, this is the time to put it in.
Though it's unlikely to make Chris and Amanda any extra profit, I want to try and make sure that they get a return.
I mean, this is the sort of the signature of green, isn't it? Solar panels and a wind turbine.
Yeah.
As you can see, they don't go round unless it's very, very windy. There will be new generations of wind turbine which work in more built-up areas where there are trees and buildings, but certainly the ones available at the moment aren't really worth putting in. In fact, you're just putting something up there which eventually will come down and fill up landfill, so you're actually better off not putting them in at the moment.
For developers, wind turbines and solar panels have a similar problem. They're relatively high on cost and relatively low on energy return. But fortunately for Chris and Amanda, it's the less visible, less costly options that can make just as much, if not more, difference than eco-bling.
The cheapest thing to do in terms of green that has the most impact is, of course, to insulate, insulate and insulate. I think everybody feels they need to do very big things and it's all a bit impossible to achieve. There are lots of little ways that you can make a lot of difference when you buy your cisterns. Make sure that you have a dual flush, so you can have a short flush or a longer flush. This house has only used environmentally friendly paint, for instance. When you're buying your materials, make sure it's locally sourced from as much as possible.
It's here you can make quite an impact. There's no reason why the UK should be the world's third largest importer of unsustainable wood. The bottom line is a little research will reveal dozens of sensible eco options.
All these things make little bits of impact, and you can make a difference. It doesn't make a tremendous difference to the cost of the development, but it makes a difference to the environment.
I think coming here today has been quite inspirational. We've seen a lot of things that we hadn't even thought about.
And here ends the party political broadcast for the Green Party. In Wanborough, 4 months after they set out, Helen and Paula have managed to pull their twin development in on schedule. Inside, on the ground floor, the sisters have managed to inject some style into their permanently open-plan layout, combining Helen's more neutral tones with Paula's particular pizzazz.
Oh, this is gorgeous. Goodness, it's beautifully finished.
This is the bit we've most enjoyed, isn't it?
But unlike the doors, which I notice aren't in,
I think if our budget had allowed us to, we would have put them in. But I do also think they may have made it look smaller in here. And I think our whole purpose is trying to make it look as spacious as possible.
The new kitchen fits snugly into the rear extension, but it's adding a third bedroom above it that put the squeeze on the upstairs layout. No amount of clever design can hide the fact that 2 of the 3 bedrooms are tiny.
I think you've done incredibly well with dressing this house, because the reality is it is quite small, isn't it?
We had to put the furniture in to show people that it is actually a bedroom and it is actually a double bedroom and so on.
If you look at the size of the rooms, you've sort of ended up with 1 double and 2 singles.
No. Because I've got a double bed in that room. It is a small double or a big single. So I don't. And we've got a small single, we've got a big single, and we've got a double. So I'll agree that that's what.
Okay, so a small single, a big single, and a double.
Yeah.
Okay,
Compromise.
so 2 singles and a double. Bingo.
From tiny to titchy, the bathrooms were always going to be a challenge. And it's a design-off with the sisters' layout in one property and mine in the other.
So you went with my layout in here and your layout in the other bathroom. One of each. Which do you reckon is most successful now they're done?
I think they've both got compromises, but we knew that from the start.
It just means that this area here you could actually stand in and dry and it's more workable space, isn't it, with this layout?
One thing's for sure, it's taken a lot of work to push these properties from 2 to 3 bedrooms. So how much did it all cost?
Your initial budget was 84,500. How much did you end up spending?
116.
So that's £31,500 over budget. How did you go over?
Because it was an older property, we didn't anticipate probably as many things come up that did, so therefore had to pay more out on tradesmen to come and put things right that we didn't anticipate.
You were originally hoping to sell these 2 houses for £235,000 each, and that would have given you £118,500 profit. How much do you think that each house would be worth now?
I'd say 250.
But that may be less about the market and more about what the girls need to meet their £118,500 target profit.
It's got a good blend of new and old. The original cupboards, the fireplace.
Well, the bedrooms are well dressed, but they are small.
Kitchen is compact, but they're smart units.
Compared to the bathroom in the other cottage, perhaps a little better equipped and laid out. I would value the cottages at £230,000 each.
I value each of these 2 cottages at £235,000.
I value each of these cottages at £240,000.
We have had 3 valuations. They've come in at £230,000, £235,000 and £240,000 for each cottage. So that would give you a profit overall with both properties of between £77,000 and £97,000. So how would that feel?
Yeah, not too bad. Considering how far we went over budget, I would say that's pretty okay.
I personally feel that you probably have limited your market to a certain extent because young professionals and families, I think, may find that the bedrooms are too small.
Well, I do still believe that we've opened up the market by making it a 3-bed because it will appeal to, you know, young families would not look at a 2-bed to start off with.
It was quite a brave thing to do, to take on 2 properties at the same time. Would you do 2 at the same time again?
Oh, we want to do 6 or 10, don't we?
At the same time?
Yeah. Well, actually, 50 would be quite good, but we're probably not going to be able to go that far.
Even though the market has hardly moved since they started the build, the sisters put each property on at just under £250,000, almost £10,000 more than the highest valuation. It takes them 6 months to sell one house at a reduced £210,000, giving them an £18,500 profit on the single property. The other is currently being rented out. In Christchurch, the project has now been going for nearly 10 months. Chris and Amanda are working round the clock to finish once and for all. Though it's taken so long, the once hot property market seems now to be a little more tepid. Chris and Amanda are as optimistic as ever.
We were concerned about the news of prices dropping. Seeing the house now, what we've done to it, I have no doubts that it will sell straight away. I hope it will. And I think we'll earn more than what we originally estimated. You know, the worst house in this street is now the best house in the street. Sorry, neighbours.
In Christchurch, nearly a year after they started, Chris and Amanda's twin development is looking good. The once shabby pair of 1930 semis are virtually double their original size and practically unrecognisable.
What a transformation. Isn't that amazing?
It looks a bit different, doesn't it?
I'm absolutely transformed.
It does make me smile when I drive down the road now.
I'm not surprised, I think it makes everyone else smile as well. It looks great.
The funds did dry up though, and round the back it's clear one property still has some way to go. But the aim was always to max out on the first sale by getting both facades done, and so far this is looking like a major success story.
If only one had been done, it would have looked a tad incongruous on this street. But having them both done, rather than one half being a scruffy old semi and the other being a big grand house, just makes all the difference.
Absolutely.
Now the inside of the finished property just has to match up with the outside. And in the new kitchen diner, it certainly does. Chris and Amanda knocked through to create a spacious area with a separate utility room, which should hit the family market head-on.
To think that the kitchen originally was only going to come to about here, and then there'd have been a utility room and then a workshop, and really quite a disappointing kitchen. It would have been a really big compromise and a great shame to have a much smaller kitchen and a utility room. And let's be honest, if a family's going to buy a newly modernised house, they're not going to really want a workshop. It was you that wanted a workshop because you're a carpenter, wasn't it?
It was a place to keep my tools and materials, but at the end of the day, this is a development.
Downstairs, the lounge has been given a thorough revamp, as have the 3 old bedrooms upstairs. But it's the addition of a brand new master suite in the new upstairs extension that should add the most value. The styling reflects the clean modern feel throughout the property, and the finish looks faultless.
Did you do all this plastering?
Yep.
I am so impressed. So that hypnosis worked?
I guess so, yeah.
No, because he still hates plastering.
Well, that's true. I mean, I just wasn't looking forward to doing it.
So you're still not a plastering fan?
If I could afford it, I'd get the professionals in.
Finances were always tight and put the squeeze on Chris and Amanda's green intentions, but they've done their bit using both recycled insulation and recycled wooden furniture. Chris's handiwork is impressive, but taking on so much of the work themselves has proved too big a job. Chris and Amanda had hoped to get both finished for £118,000. So far, they've spent £127,000 to finish one and do most of the major external work to the other, but there's still a long way to go.
So it's probably easiest because you haven't finished next door to kind of see them as individual developments, really. How much did this half cost you to get completely finished?
Yeah, 74 to do this side.
That's a tremendous achievement to have done this entire development, including all your costs, and to have extended it and refurbished it all in for 74,000. But it's come at a price, hasn't it?
The price has been that we've had to work hard. Me personally, as a woman, I've worked physically hard for 9 months.
It's been a huge learning curve. I don't know if I'd want to put Amanda through the hard work again.
When you originally started out, you were hoping to get £320,000 for this house, and that would give you a £34,000 profit. How much do you think that you would now be able to get for it?
350 would be acceptable, and we'd go out and celebrate.
This presents very well.
Wow, this is a really spacious kitchen with a good-sized dining area too.
The utility room, absolutely ideal.
I love the decor in here. It's really well done.
It's more than a semi-detached because of the presentation and the finish.
In many ways, you know, they've got the best house in the road here. I would market this property at £335,000.
I'd value this property at £365,000.
I would value this property at £365,000.
We've had the finished house valued, and the first one valued it at £335,000, and 2 came in at £365,000.
I'm happy with that, actually. Yeah? 365, yeah.
I think it's worth £1 million how hard I worked, actually.
So that would give you a profit of between £49,000 and £79,000.
That's good profit.
I think we could afford a holiday.
One of the other things the agents did say is that by doing next door and this together, you've added at least £20,000 in value to this property alone, and then another £20,000 on next door.
It was worth doing
It was
too.
definitely worth it.
Worth killing yourselves.
Thank you, Sarah.
Chris and Amanda paid £212,000 for the first property, spent £74,000 doing it up, and if they sell for the higher valuation of £365,000, they stand to make a £79,000 gross profit. Now, if they could do the same next door, they'd rake in £158,000.
How are you planning on financing finishing off next door?
We need to get this on the market and sold.
I think that the most effective way of getting this sold would probably be to have an open day. And so the big question is, what are you going to put it on the market for?
I don't know, what would be your advice?
Well, if your top valuation's 365 in this market, I would put it on at 365. If 3 people want it, they'll go up.
So 365 it is. Get the board outside.
An open day is one way of marketing a property that can turn the sale of your property into a bit of an event and hopefully stimulate interest.
Nice to meet you. Oh, yeah. Got a nice curbside appeal. It's a good area.
The first impressions are actually really very nice.
Size is an issue here, isn't it?
With this being a semi, we have soundproofed right through the adjoining wall here.
Oh, wow.
Fantastic size this kitchen. See us living in that kitchen, in that eating space and the garden.
It's a great party room.
Absolutely, yeah, I'm
it's
sure.
just made for it.
It's a real airy room, isn't it?
It's a nice space. Oh, this is a great size room. I really like this room.
Oh, it's a fantastic use of space, isn't it? Do you like it?
Yeah, I like the bed.
365 as an asking price is pretty reasonable.
I would definitely come back for a second viewing. I thought it was stunning, absolutely stunning. I think the kitchen eating area.
Yeah, that's particularly nice.
Really well finished and a really modern property that we could literally, I think, bring suitcases into and move in tomorrow. Yeah.
It may have been a lot of pain, but it's looking like a lot of gain. Of course, what they need to do now is sell up one property and finish the other.
Doing side-by-side properties can really lift both of their values and hike up your profit margins, but they're an awful lot of work, and the risk of duplicating mistakes, especially if you're a first-timer, is a big one. So if you're planning on taking on a double development, do yourself a favour and really, really check out what you're letting yourself in for.